By the way, if you've never watched any of my videos before, just skip to this timestamp or else you'd be very confused. So, you thought my next video would take another month and a half? You utter fool! So it's me, back again with another video reviewing a game, and as promised for my last video, this video will be about—
Bingo?
No, not bingo, it's Resident Evil 4, Goofy. Obviously I'm not going to make a video over something as simple as bingo. So by the way, these will be the last of these just really random reviews on really old and irrelevant games. These videos were actually just preliminaries to level up my video creating skills, so that I can actually make quality content when I cover topics I'm actually interested in. Actually, I'll let you in on another secret. This will be the last well-edited video on this channel, probably. From now on, I'll mainly use this channel for stuff like tier lists. Wait, this video was over Resident Evil 4, right? Let me stop wasting time and actually start reviewing the game, so let's get into Resident Evil 4. Again, like with all my videos, I want to start off with the minor stuff. Oh, don't worry, I don't mean kids. I'm not attracted to minors. Well, actually, I am attracted to them. Actually, speaking further just condemns me more. So there's 3 topics I'll cover here: graphics, music, and story. For graphics, well, what did you expect? This is a goddamn 2004 game, for crying out loud. I will say the animations aged really well, but the effects and texture— let's move on to the music. One thing is that this game is extremely exceptional at just setting the mood. Like, you'll have this tense music as you face off against the Ganados, the music when regenerators are near, and the kind of music at the typewriters. Of course though, there aren't really any tracks I've listened to outside of the game, but again, the music is very effective at its job. Now before we get into the story, let me actually give you a summary of the game, because I bet some of you were very confused about whatever the hell I was talking about in my previous video. So in this game, you follow Leon Kennedy as he needs to— you know what, I'll let him say it himself.
My assignment is to search for the president's missing daughter.
And this daughter has been held in a remote village in Spain. However, you realize that everything here is— guess what, not as it seems. I know, crazy right? The villagers seem to be infected with a parasite known as Las Plagas. Now here you are, all alone, trapped in every way by basically zombies. So what do? You shoot them. So throughout the entire game, you must manage your limited inventory space, ammo, and terrain against various enemy types, each having to be dealt with in a different way. Over the course of the game, you go through a village, to a mansion, and finally to a remote island, and at each location you meet new enemy types like these monks, and new characters like Luis, Krauser, Ada, who, by the way, is also known as the
bitch in the red dress,
and Salazar, whose name actually sounds like something you'd eat at an expensive Italian restaurant. You're welcome, those who didn't play the game. Now you're not in the complete dark here. So anyways, about the story, it's basically a run-of-the-mill action flick. Characters go through fairly little character development, but there's a lot of cool moments. I thought Luis, Sarah, and Leon were quite cool, as Luis has an interesting backstory if you read all his notes, and Leon has some pretty goofy lines like,
"No thanks, bro."
But all the other characters really felt pretty generic. Oh yeah, there's also this creature classified as Ashley. So yeah, Ashley's pretty annoying. Of course though, let's get into the big boy in the arena here, the gameplay. There's a lot of topics to cover here, so let's go one at a time. The first topic to cover is the level design. There's a lot of open spaces around with very few camping spots, and this forces you to keep traversing around the map and juking the enemies, which increases tensions because eventually, you will 100% of the time run into an enemy you didn't see.
surprise, motherfucker.
However, for every well-crafted level there also exists many narrow one-way corridors and just completely barren areas, which limits the depth of combat. Next up, we got the inventory. I'm not sure I need to say anything here. This footage I'm showing on the screen clearly shows that this is the best inventory system in any game ever. Yep, that's it for this section. Let's cover our next topic, which is basically just all the items you can use. First we have the grenades. My main gripe with these things is the fact that, as you can see, you can hardly gauge where they will land, which can quickly end with you becoming human barbecue. However, I do think the addition of grenades is more of a positive than a negative. Next we got, well, you know, I mean herbs. While they are hardly special to this specific game in the Resident Evil series, they are quite fun to play around with and get different combinations. But of course, next we have the guns. These guns are great as every gun type has their own niche they fill just perfectly, like snipers being used on the enemies with crossbows, the SMG being optimally used to execute melee moves, and the shotgun being used against hordes of enemies close by. There's also a great balance between upgrading your current weapon or just simply buying a new one, as both options have their own upsides. Finally, the weapons are great because your limited ammo supply means if you have ammo in only one weapon, you'd have to create a situation where that weapon is at an advantage. For example, if you only have ammo in your shotgun but your enemies are far away, you'd have to find ways to get closer to them, which is a nice bit of puzzle solving.
Gotcha, bitch.
Finally, of course, we have the melee moves, and there's two types. Psst, there's actually three, but we don't talk about this irrelevant low kick, alright? The first is the roundhouse kick, where if you shoot an enemy in the head and then walk up to them, you can kick them and surrounding enemies. The second is the suplex. That happens if you shoot the enemy in the foot, then they'll be on their knees and you can completely just style on them. Just super satisfying stuff. Once again, these melee moves are great as you have different situations where they're useful, like the roundhouse kick for crowd control, and the suplex if you want to save ammo. Oh yeah, did I mention they have style? Next, let's move on to the controls. See, this game features tank controls. No, sadly, you don't get to control a tank in this game. Instead, it basically means turning your camera is very slow and you can't strafe left or right. While this seems like something very frustrating at first, it allows for some really tense moments where you just go into panic mode once enemies come from all directions as you can't keep track of all of them simultaneously. Furthermore, you can't shoot your gun while moving, which gives the game much more challenge as you have to position yourself in a way that makes you safe. Next up, we got the many different enemy types. Again, these enemy types are great because they mean you can't approach every encounter in the same manner. Like, you would hate to camp in a corner only for an enemy to throw a stick of dynamite at you. You'd also hate to have no rifle ammo if you're up against one of the crossbow users. Oh yeah, you'd also hate to exist if you're up against one of these invisible little pieces of crap. Haha, take that. Wait, where you at? How'd you teleport in front of me? Holy Jesus, my health! I'm dead! My point is, the different enemy types means in each fight you'll be put at a disadvantage if you're not prepared for an enemy type, which keeps the gameplay challenging and forces you to adapt and overcome. Closely related to our most recent topic is the enemy AI. For 2004, the enemy's AI is actually very good. They hardly get stuck and they'll even try to flank you. They may even
slide to the left, slide to the right.
The second to last thing I'll cover is the boss fights. My main problem with some of the boss fights is the fact that they can be extremely repetitive. Like with the El Gigante, it's literally just run and shoot until he falls down, repeat over and over. Another problem is that boss fights against really important enemies can end up being really underwhelming. Like Salazar and Sadler's boss fights, where you think there'll be multiple phases and then you kill them and you're like,
That's it?
However, this game does have some really good boss fights, like Krauser's, the one against
The big cheese.
and also the first U3 boss fight. These three boss fights either have a unique gimmick like shooting lights, or different phases like this guy becoming a whole monkey. I especially love Krauser's fight as there's so many moves you can pull out, and you have to be prepared for each one. Finally, I just want to talk about one set piece and figured this would be the best place to put it. Basically, I just need to say that the whole sequence with Chopper Mike is one of the most epic experiences I ever had playing a game like ever. The fact that you're dodging turrets left and right, the fact that your enemies are being blown up by literally missiles, and the really epic soundtrack all make for a really satisfying penultimate sequence. The final thing is, of course, the horror aspect to this game. The game is never like scary in that it makes you too scared to play, but it definitely stresses you out a lot, as it is very stressful managing all these creepy enemies which are coming in all directions while we have low health. Also, don't believe anyone who says the game is only creepy in the first third of the game, because in the second third of the game, you meet these horrifying cultists. And you're really gonna tell me they ain't creepy when they chant,
It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Are you really gonna tell me these regenerators in the last third of the game aren't creepy when they make autistic sounds like...
Oh, nigga!
Basically, this game is just the right amount of scary. So yeah, overall, I'd say this game is an 8.7 out of 10. If you haven't played it, then bro, what are you doing? Just buy it, man. It's called a classic for a reason. So pretty much, this will be my last well-edited video on this channel at least. I'll probably switch channels for a few reasons. So anyways, this does mean goodbye for now. See ya guys.